How exciting. Hello.
Hello, Claire. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh.
I know I'm here without my cohort because she's in Spain. So I'll have to just pretend that Laura's here.
Okay.
So I'm very excited to be presenting. We're very excited to be presenting at the conference. And I was just telling you, wasn't I, Molly, that the work that we are presenting actually was developed in, well, how can I describe it? It wasn't developed in Australia. I was literally given like a download on the beach at Byron Bay, and I was there with my friend. I'd actually gone off to Australia on sabbatical. I'd never been over to your beautiful country before, and was having this horrendous year and just decided I needed a break. And I honestly thought I was probably walking away from my career. Just everything needed a shake up, everything. I left my marriage a few months later, like everything needed to change. And I'm sat in Byron Bay with my friend, who at the time, she basically just become, she was just single, so 2 children, single mum, trying to carve out a career in Sydney. It's such an expensive city, trying to hold everything together, really stressed, comfort eating. And she was talking about how she has these very heavy periods. And I'd also seen her just be a massive overwhelm. And I just was hearing her, and I was saying, look, you need to sort your diet out, you need to sort your diet out. And she just said, well, how are my diets causing my bad periods? And I just drew a triangle in my journal and just said, I'd never been taught it, but I just said, there is a connection between, you know, how you eat and your emotions, and how you eat and your blood sugar and your periods, like blood sugars and periods and da da da. And I just said it like that. And she was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And that was it. And then I came home and I started talking to Laura, my fabulous business partner. And I said, oh, I got this weird information through when I was in Australia. And she said, what? And I told her. And she looked at me and she went, oh my goodness. And she's a massive, like, she's so into research and podcasts and all the things. And she basically went away and came back and said, I've done the research. Here's the hormones. She said, no one's talking about it. She said, some people are talking about blood sugars and stress. Other people are talking about stress and sex hormones. Some people are talking about hormones and blood sugars, but nobody has put this work together. And so we started working with it in clinic, and I started working with it for my own health. And after a while, we created a few one-day workshops, and we sent it off to our Kinesiology Federation and said, could you give us approval for CPD courses? And they said, no, you've invented a new arm of kinesiology.
Sorry, what did they say? They said no.
You've invented a whole new arm of kinesiology.
Oh,
so in a way, write a full
that was
practitioner
a no
training.
and a yes.
Yes, yes. You need to actually go and launch a college, do all the the qualifications to become head of college, and go get insured as a college. And yeah, so that's how it started. And yeah, that's how functional kinesiology was born.
Oh, that's amazing, Claire.
So it feels kind of wonderful, actually, kind of coming back to Australia, albeit virtually, to deliver our work.
Oh, well, how exciting. Well, yes,
Yeah, really exciting.
we were really happy when you applied.
Yes, we were just saying we needed to get our work a little bit more out there, so we're really excited. And what I'm so excited about sharing is over that time, and that was 2015, and over the years, obviously, in the creation of a course, and actually our course as well, it was like we were so assisted, like miracles happened for that course to happen, because I remember just messaging Laura. Her little boy was 6 weeks old. She is in the middle of, breastfeeding, a new mother, her first child. She's like, her world was like, and I just messaged her and went, we have to write this course. And this is before it was going to be a full practitioner course. And I said, and I need you. And she went, I can give you 2 hours a week. So we literally were writing this course. 2 hours a week, we would have this time together. So we would go away and do our work by ourselves, and then come together for 2 hours a week, where she was just like, sort of pumping, and then we would stand up and do some videos, and then we would do the same. And I don't even know how that course happened. I mean, we literally have over 150 hours of videos that we created over this course of this year. Sometimes I can barely even get in the photo because her boobs are so big from breastfeeding. It's hilarious. So we always laugh about that, but it just felt really guided to get it out there. And so we basically focus now on what we call the 6 pillars. So there's the triangle of hormonal health is 3 sets of hormones: the blood sugars, the stress hormones, and the sex hormones. But we have 6 pillars because when this is out of balance, we then have the victims from these hormones being out of balance are the digestion and the immune. So that people often focus on digestion or immune, but actually they're victims of these hormone structures being out of balance.
Oh.
And so that's the 5 pillars. And then the 6th is emotion. So again, if we are anxious, we look at the blood sugars. If you're dealing with but then once you've dealt with your blood sugars, you also then need tools and techniques to be able to deal with it. So these 6 pillars that all work together, but at the foundations are the three hormone structures.
That's really interesting. So is your work only for women at the moment?
No, because when we talk sex hormones, we're also talking testosterone. And actually, when you start looking at the clinic models around why are men struggling with low testosterone or high testosterone, mostly low, but when you look at that, you realize it's actually because of adrenal fatigue. And so therefore stress hormones. And why they got stress hormones? What's their diet like? So we can always bring it back. And of course, because women have testosterone. So no, it is definitely for men and women. And what's been fascinating with this work is how young I'm seeing, predominantly girls, but how young I'm seeing them now, just even before puberty, and you're starting to see fallout because of diet, fallout because of stress. They're going into puberty late or they're going into puberty early. And so it just all makes so much sense when you see their diet and it's, just not great.
Well, if you just anecdotally go to school, the numbers of anxious children at school has just increased phenomenally. So have the numbers of children who are called now school refusers. They won't go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that in my practice too. I have young women who are so anxious, so shut down.
Yeah.
And
I to be everywhere right now, everywhere.
Well, it's also coming out of a very stressful year, I think.
Yes.
It's had big impacts on people. And the heavy, oh, there goes a truck in the background. The heavy periods are really interesting too, because I think what fascinated me was, I think women tend to get left out of studies and things like scientific studies where, I thought the biggest irony was reading that they didn't use any women for a drug that was for women. I can't remember which one it was, because women are so unreliable because of their hormones. So we'll test it on all these men and then we'll just apply it to women. Like the logic behind that, I can't believe they didn't even unpack their own logic at some point. And I meet in my practice a lot of people whose mother had a super heavy period. So in the family history, it's like that's normal. Because nobody discusses periods. It will hardly ever. There's a slow kind of opening up of that and the taboo. And you see Facebook posts about India and even just having menstrual products. But to go the next step is, well, if most of the world are women, over half, and most of them are spending a fair bit of their time having cycling through a period, it's not meant to destroy your life. It's not meant to be once a month you're in bed sick with the hot water bottle.
No, and the answer isn't the contraceptive pill. That is not the answer. That is putting a sticking plaster, and actually not even a sticking plaster. It's causing more estrogen dominance. So therefore there are more issues further down the road. So our work has ended up becoming really research-led, actually. So, which we're very excited by, because when I first went into practice as a kinesiologist, I was starting to get people coming in and they'd say they had an autoimmune disease or something. And I'd go, God, that's got a big word. I don't know what that is. And it all felt very mystifying and a bit scary, because I didn't know if I was going to, and of course, kinesiology is so gentle and wonderful and incredible and miraculous. But the truth was people were still coming in with what I would call big conditions. And what's so beautiful about the work that we created is we now advertise it because we're in the middle of a global health crisis. And I'm not talking about the pandemic. I'm talking about the wider picture of back in 20 years ago, there were only just over 80 recognized autoimmune diseases. There's now over 300. And so every person that's coming into your clinic is autoimmune, cancer. Now, of course, as practitioners, we're not working on those conditions. We don't need to work on the conditions. The doctors are going to do that, but we need to work with that person. But we also need to work with their blood sugars, their stress. We can work around that and guess what the root cause of those autoimmune conditions are? Blood sugars, stress hormones, and then sex hormone imbalances. It's the most incredible thing. So we're now equipping practitioners to not just not just feel confident when someone comes in, regardless of what their condition is. They're actually able to work, root cause stuff, but actually leave the condition well alone, but feel so confident that they go, yeah, I can support you. I can absolutely support you. Oh. And that felt like such a mission, because I was involved with a college where we were training practitioners, and beautiful training, but people were just coming out of their training going, I don't know how to deal with what's in front of me. And this clarion call that I have around the fact that the world is ill, and we are now, I truly believe, especially on the back of this pandemic, we are the first line defense. Doctors can't help with long COVID. We've got this big issue over here with long COVID, and the NHS over here have got nothing for it because it's post-viral fatigue. Guess what? We've been seeing post-viral fatigue in our clinics for 15 years. So we've got the tools for this. So this is the time for us kinesiologists, us wellness coaches, nutritionists, this is our time to really show the world how useful we are. So it feels really exciting to have an offering which is research driven and actually dealing with what is really going on.
Oh. You call it functional kinesiology, your new offering to the world. Can you explain why? Or how it came about to be that?
So the research, we got very excited about 5 years ago, because up until then, nutritional science was a little bit of a misnomer. There wasn't much science. It was a very burgeoning science. And so there's now, the sad part about that is there's a lot of health myths in our industry. There's a lot of things where we now look at it and go, stuff that we were trained in, 10, 12 years ago, I go, oh God, we know that's so wrong now. So, in the last 5 or 6 years, nutritional science has flourished in a huge way, and the research coming out of it is incredible. And the first place that started was functional nutrition. And I think functional nutrition or functional medicine is great. However, for a lot of people, it's not accessible because of cost, because, you can go and see your functional medical practitioner because they're a medical doctor. The fees are already high, and then you might have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds worth of tests on top of that. And that's before your supplements or hormones or whatever it is that you need. So for some people, well, actually my experience is most people, it's not accessible. But I love the process. But of course, we get to use muscle testing. We get this fantastic, theory of muscle testing. And when you start looking at those 42 muscles and the connection, the muscle organ meridian connection, and you start really drilling down into that, which a lot of applied kinesiology did, we have this capability to start questioning what's going on in a much more holistic way. So we liked the functional, and the other reason that we like the functional is because we are sitting there saying we're dealing with the root cause of what's going on for people. It's very direct, but alongside with the kinesiology.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, Claire, it's been so lovely to meet you. And
so
discover that you're closer to the beach than I am.
Yes, really close.